All right, so today we're diving deep into the life of Eren Yeager, who is, without a doubt, one of the most complex and, well, controversial characters in recent memory. We're going to trace the entire story of how a kid who was just burning with a simple desire for revenge ended up becoming both the savior of his people and the destroyer of the entire world.
You know this one question he asks, standing at the edge of the ocean for the very first time? This pretty much says it all. It perfectly captures his entire desperate and, let's be honest, incredibly twisted search for what he calls freedom. It's the one thing that drives every single thing he does, from his childhood vow all the way to his final world-ending rampage.
So let's rewind, way back to the beginning. Our story starts in a place called Shiganshina. And at this point, Eren Yeager is not a monster. He's not even a soldier. He's just a kid. A pretty stubborn kid who's always dreaming about the world beyond the walls. A world of flaming water and fields of ice he's only ever read about in his best friend Armin's secret books.
And then it all comes crashing down. In the year 845, the impossible happens. The outer wall is breached. 100 years of fragile peace, gone, just like that. His hometown is flooded with these man-eating giants, and his entire world just turns into an absolute nightmare.
And right there, in the middle of all that horror, Eren sees something no child should ever see: his own mother being eaten alive by a Titan. That one moment of trauma just burns away the dreamy kid, and what's left is someone consumed by pure, white-hot hatred. From that point on, his life has only one purpose.
So what do you do with that kind of rage? You channel it. For the next 5 years, that vow is the only thing that matters. He, Mikasa, and Armin join the military. They train, they push themselves to the brink, all for one reason: to join the Survey Corps and take the fight to the Titans, to kill every last one.
Okay, so we jump to the year 850. It's his very first battle as a soldier, and he gets eaten. Yep, you heard me right. Eaten by a Titan. And that should be the end of his story, right? Well, not quite. It's actually a shocking new beginning that changes everything.
Because Eren discovers he has an unbelievable power. He can become the very thing he swore to destroy. He's inherited the power of the attack titan from his father, Grisha. And suddenly, he's not just a soldier anymore. He's a thinking, fighting, 15-meter-tall weapon.
And here is the crazy irony of his whole life, right? His goal is exactly the same, but now, to hunt the monsters, he has to become a monster himself. It makes him humanity's greatest weapon, for sure, but it also makes him something to be feared by the very people he's trying to protect. The next few years are just brutal, a constant meat grinder of a war. But the Survey Corps uses Eren's power to slowly, painstakingly push back. And through it all, they have one singular mission: reclaim Wall Maria and get to the basement of Eren's childhood home. His father promised the truth was waiting for them there.
I mean, this was the question driving everything for so long. After losing so many people, their commander, Erwin included, the few who were left finally make it. They unlock that door. So, was it worth it? What on earth did they find in that basement?
Well, the first thing they find just blows their entire reality to pieces. It turns out they are not the last of humanity, not even close. There's a whole world out there, a thriving civilization with technology they couldn't even dream of.
The second truth hits even closer to home. They learn who they really are. They're Eldians, a specific race of people who can be turned into Titans. You know what that means? Those mindless monsters they've been fighting and dying against for a century, they were their own people.
And then, the final, crushing blow. Their real enemy was never the Titans. It's the rest of the world, led by a nation called Marley that hates and fears them for their power. Those walls, they weren't built to protect them from the Titans. They were built to cage them in.
You can just imagine what learning all of that does to a person's mind, especially Eren's. His simple war of good versus evil was a total lie. So when we see him again 4 years later, he's a different person. Completely. He's not the angry kid reacting to things anymore. Oh no, now he's making the first move. He basically takes the hero label and throws it in the trash, fully embracing the role of the villain. He goes undercover in Marley and launches a devastating surprise attack on their capital, killing civilians and world leaders. It is a formal declaration of war against the entire planet. And he does not slow down. He assassinates Marley's de facto leader, eats another one of the 9 Titans to steal its power, and even splinters his own military, creating a radical faction, the Jaegerists, who are loyal only to him. At this point, he's totally alone, convinced that his dark path is the only one. Well, you can guess how the world reacts to all this. They form a global alliance with one goal: destroy Eren's home, Paradise Island, for good. Backed into a corner, Eren decides it's time to unleash his final horrifying solution, a plan to end the cycle of hatred for good. To pull it off, he needs to unlock the ultimate power, the power of the founding Titan. And there's only one way to do that. He has to make physical contact with a Titan of royal blood. He achieves this by reaching his half-brother, Zeke. And just like that, he gains the power of a god. So what does he do with this godlike power? He starts something called the rumbling. The 3 walls of Paradise crumble, but they weren't just made of stone. They were made of millions of dormant, 50-meter-tall titans. And now they're all awake, and they're walking across the ocean with one terrifying goal: to trample the entire world flat. The result is apocalyptic. Before he's finally stopped, Eren Yeager succeeds in wiping out 80% of the entire human population. Let that sink in for a second. The character we started this story with commits the largest act of genocide imaginable. This forces an impossible choice. Eren's friends, the people who love him most, have to team up with their sworn enemies, what's left of the Marleyan military, to try and stop him. They have to fight their best friend to save what little is left of the world. The final battle is both massive and intensely personal, and it ends in the most tragic way possible. It's Mikasa, the girl who spent her entire life trying to protect Eren, who is forced to deal the killing blow. And with that single heartbreaking act of love, the 2,000-year curse of the Titans is finally broken. But then we get the final horrifying twist. We learn that this was his plan all along. The rumbling was this monstrous self-sacrificial gambit to achieve 3 things. 1, end the curse of the Titans. 2, erase that power from the world forever. And 3, turn his friends into global heroes, the saviors who stopped the monster, Eren Yeager. So that leaves us with the big, unanswerable question, doesn't it? He committed the ultimate evil to create a world free from the cycle of hatred that created him. So what was he? A monster? A martyr? Or was this man, who was so obsessed with freedom, actually the least free person of all, just a slave to a future he couldn't change? That, right there, is his tragic, paradoxical legacy.